Hello, everyone. I'm Valora Washington, CEO of the CAYL Institute, that's Community Advocates for Young Learners. Thank you for joining our webinar series today. Your presence and participation are critical to the success of essential discussions that we need to have as a community right now. So typically we offer these webinars every first Thursday of the month at 4 o'clock Eastern Time to bring you important conversations about children, families, and the early childhood education profession. All of these webinars are free, they're recorded, they're available on our website. During the webinar, closed captioning is available. At the end of the webinar, you have the opportunity to click a link we'll provide in the chat, and you can join in discussion with our panelists today. After the webinar, early next week, you'll receive an email with follow-up materials if you want to dig deeper into today's conversation. For over 20 years, the CAYL Institute has been working to advance the next generation of leaders for young children. You can learn more about our work by following us on Facebook, watching our YouTube channel, or visiting our body of work on our website. We began this monthly webinar series in 2020. Over 12,000 of you, including our colleagues from 38 countries, have attended these CAYL Catalyst conversations. Thank you so much. Our theme last year was courage, and you certainly showed up with courage. You have definitely inspired us, and we've learned so much from you. We heard from legendary leaders in the field and from practitioners who are showing up every day with power in their own settings. We're grateful for your courage, for your boldness, for your willingness to look at the elephants in the room, as well as the light you bring to the world for our children. Your light shows us what Nelson Mandela meant when he said that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. So we thank you so much for joining us today. And as we take this leap forward into 2025, many of us are asking ourselves and each other, what is the way forward? It's no secret that we're living in uncertain policy and political climates. What's the way forward for our children and for ourselves? What's on your mind? Please share your thoughts with us. We see many ways forward. First of all, the way forward has to include focusing on our children, like putting the power back in play and learning more about best serving our tech-savvy kids in developmentally appropriate ways. The way forward has to include strong pathways for our workforce, and the way forward also has to look at the public policy that's surrounding our field. But before we start on these paths forward this year, we want to get ourselves ready to do the work. So we're going to start today by addressing the human quality that makes all of this work possible, and that is our resilience. Resilience is knowing that we have power. We are not powerless. Resilience is knowing that how we handle adversity, not adversity itself, can play a huge role in how we move forward. Resilience is knowing that we have the skills and knowledge to make a way, to do things differently. It's tapping into something deep within our human spirit and our professional ethics. And we are all committed to striving for the essential good for young children and the professionals who serve them. But finding and strengthening our resilience is not a fairy tale. So let's explore today how we can tap into and build upon our resilience. How can we claim our power and thrive in the face of today's challenges? Because resilience is so much more than simply surviving. Maya Angelou has taught us that what happens to us certainly can change us, but we don't have to be reduced by it. So how do we choose resilience? Today, we're going to learn from a panel of 3 of our colleagues. I want to introduce you to Alexandria Domingo from a Hawaii Head Start program. Also, we'll meet Najwa Dada, who works in the Detroit area. But to begin with, I'd like to ask award-winning best-selling author and podcaster Holly Elissa Bruno to share her wisdom on this topic. Holly, how do we choose resilience? How do you in our audience today choose resilience? Holly, we'd love to hear you. Tell us about choosing resilience.
Hello, my friends, and thank you, Valora and team. I'm just really glad to be with you, and I am grateful to be with you at a time when each one of us, whether we're in the United States of America or we're beyond this country, we're all facing a challenge to hope. And actually, when I think and feel about resilience, the word that comes to my heart is hope. What is it that is allowing me hope rather than taking me down to feel defeated? And I would invite each one of you, if you're willing to look at that. What is giving you hope? What helps you see that, wait a minute, these daunting reductions in funding, this annihilation of my program, children not being fed, children not getting the medicine they need, my losing my job, all of these things. How can I feel hopeful in the midst of this? So I invite you, if you want to just write in the chat, where does your hope come from? And I want to thank a friend of mine that many of you will know. He's from Miami, but he's originally from Cuba. His name is Luis Hernandez. And Luis said one time, he said, if I didn't have hope, what would I have? And I have held that in my heart all these years. If I didn't have hope, what would I have? The other thing that Luis and I did when we taught together was we would ask people, what's the source of your hope? And, as I'm watching the points come up on the chat, what am I seeing? People are saying, it's the children that give me hope. My ancestors give me hope. The sound and faces of young children, that's what gives me hope. And there's part of my answer, friends. The children will always be with us. And what is my desire with those children? It's to help each child unfold to become who she is meant to be. How can I greet each child and say, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Go. Want to learn about you. How can I welcome everybody in times which are unwelcoming? And so let me get back to hope as the foundation of resilience. Hope, my friends, to me, is a choice. I invite you to comment on that too. Why would I be saying hope is a choice? Don't we always have hope? Aren't we born with hope? Well, here's what I've discovered. I have had, as you have, many forces that tell me this is a hopeless situation. I've had many powerful factors that have said to me, you might think you're a powerful girl, but you are not powerful. You might think you have something to say, but I'm not going to listen. And so how in the midst of forces that tell us, for example, if you're a person of color that says, I'm not going to see you, you don't exist. Or in my day, because I'm 79, I would be the only woman at various organizations, and a question would be called and I'd wait, and then I'd answer it. No one would respond. And then 2 minutes later, a man would say the same thing I did. And they'd say, great idea. So my friends, how in the midst of forces against hope and against resilience can I keep my heart focused on resilience? And I want to tell you a story. It's a story of my own son, little Nicolo, who came from Korea when he was 10 months old. And from the get-go, he was diagnosed with all kinds of challenges. And I just loved him. He was my first child. I thought he was brilliant. I loved him forever and always. And one time, and when he went to childcare, the feedback kept coming up about his developmental delays and all of this stuff. So I was sitting on the kitchen floor with him, and we had Legos. And I thought, how we think we know what we're doing. But I had just the right thing for his fine motor development skills, etc. But he just couldn't put those Legos together. And I was like praying, please let him do it. And finally, here's what he did after dropping them over and over again. He looked up at me. I was pretty close. He said, Mama, silly me. Mama, silly me. And that's resilience, and that's hope. He didn't feel like he could do what he needed to do, but he didn't give up hope. And later on, of course, he learned to do that. So my friends, resilience and hope and making a choice, those are crucial. And what I'd like to do right now is introduce you to a dear friend and colleague from Hawaii. I know she's going to invite all of us over to Hawaii very soon. Ms. Alexandria Domingo. Alex has worked with Head Start for a very long time. She's a strong leader. And she also served, and this is how I met her, as the head of Hawaii Association for the Education of Young Children. The reason that I'm particularly moved to hear Alex today is that she has chosen not to do quite so much, not to put herself out there at all times. She's still being wonderful and powerful. And yet she can tell us some of the choices we have when resilience is pushed back on. How do we find the resilience in ourselves? Hey, Alex.
Aloha, Holly. Mahalo for
Aloha.
the introduction. Aloha, everyone. I'm Alex Domingo, also known as Miss Alex or even Miss Al. The more you know me, the shorter my name gets. I've been in the field for 20 years now, and I've had the pleasure and privilege of being a Head Start teacher in our program for about 10 years before becoming the assistant director. So today's topic, resilience, that's one, like as Holly said, I am kind of muddling my way through. And as she mentioned that I'm learning that as a leader, sometimes that also means letting go. You know, a good leader knows when to let go. Leadership can be lonely, leadership can be overwhelming. But on most days, leadership can be beautiful. With the right people and the right amount of motivation and determination, we can push forward as what we're all doing here today, coming on and um, getting that extra support that we need to continue the work that we do. So when Holly mentioned that I'm learning to not do so much, sometimes as leaders, we tend to take on a lot because we're so caring and nurturing, and we're always thinking about the next person, thinking about the people that we work with and how we want to support them. One of the greatest things that we can do when we're doing this work is to breed the next generation of leadership. That's not always easy to do. You know, we get stuck and caught in our ways of doing things how we want them to do it, how we think would be the best way. But also being a great leader is knowing that there's other ways to do things. Just because we do things one way doesn't mean it's the right way. Sometimes you need to let go and allow others to do things and see, yeah, we got the same results. She didn't go the same path that I went, but we got the same results. And, along the way, we learned something new. So I think that's important when we're working with individuals in growing capacity as, growing the next leaders in our community, in our early childhood community. We went through a lot in our on our island. I know everybody kind of heard about the Lahaina wildfires. And so we are still actually recovering from that. But that came shortly after the pandemic, right? We survived the pandemic, but we were still feeling those effects. And so when the wildfires happened, it just kind of threw us for a loop. But we're still, it's a year later, we're still feeling those effects. And I think everybody can agree that throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, as leaders, it was scary, but we had to continue the work and do what leaders do and uplift others, uplift those that, are doing the work, caring for others while we try to care for ourselves. And that's not always easy to do, but it's important because we, as leaders, we should be role models, right? For those that we are mentoring and those that we work closely with, because we're showing them that this is what it takes to be a leader. And sometimes we need people that are in the field with us to remind us that. I know Holly is a great pal that is always checking in on me, and that's my concrete social support, so it's important that as leaders we have that as well. And so on today's, call, hopefully we'll make some connections with people and get to know each other a little bit more after this so that you can have that support system for yourself. One of my most favorite quotes by Margaret Mead is never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And I hold true to that because every time I think about doing things, I think, okay, who can I rally up to bring with me, right? You kind of know your people and know who'll come with you. But as Holly mentioned earlier, as I look at my time and it's sort of ending, I wanted to share that being a leader, sometimes you have to make that call of stepping back. I myself had to deal with a lot of trauma over the last few months, and I had to deal with the loss of my mother, having my dad fall ill a little bit more than he typically is. So I stepped off of the HUIC board. It wasn't an easy call to make. I felt terrible about it, but knowing the group that I had on the board, they supported me 100%. I knew I was doing the right thing because once again, in being a good role model, you have to take care of yourself. And I was stretched beyond. My plate was overflowing, as Holly would say. So I had to make that call of learning to let go, but also learning to trust that those that I was working with, that we worked together and they would be able to do the work. And I know Kathy Murphy, our executive director of HUIC, who had passed, she's smiling down, knowing that I made that call. Even though as hard as it was, I made the call for my own well-being, but also in knowing that there's others that we can help to motivate and allow the growth and opportunity for them to become those leaders that we're trying to breed in our early childhood community. We're kind of all working on succession planning, and I think that is so critical to have a succession plan, because we all know what happens when you don't have one. People are left to fumble and pick up the ball and just try to keep running with it. But when you have that succession plan in place, it kind of makes things a little bit easier. And as I think about those that are on this call today, working with Holly and meeting Valora, the work that they do is so critical as they help to uplift those that are doing the work and continue to do the work. So I can't thank everybody enough for some of the things that have been shared with me along the way, especially when I decided to step off the board for a little bit. I'm still doing the work in this capacity. I know Holly and I laugh about this because even though I'm not on the board, I'm doing the same amount of work because out here in Hawaii, and I think in our early childhood community in general, we're all connected. I feel like we're all connected, no matter what we do, no matter what program we're in, because we're serving our communities and because we work to work with our children and families in our communities. I think we all connect in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's what's the beautiful part about being in this early childhood community, that no matter where you are, what you're doing, we all kind of connect somehow. And so with that said, I thank you, Holly and Valora, for inviting me to be here. And I think am I turning it over to Najwa or back to you, Holly?
Thank you, Alexandria. Good afternoon, everyone. Marhaba. Thank you all for being here. I see a lot of familiar faces from our Detroit and Michigan community and all around here, national and international. Hope. I mean, there's a lot of good things that has been unpacked here. We have to have hope to get through the difficult times that we all going through, whether it's locally, nationally, internationally. The one thing I can honestly say as an Arab American, having hope coming here to America and just being who I am and what I've poured into communities, not just my Arab community, but the Latino, the all communities that need representation, a voice. It's a journey. It's a journey that we are all resilient in one way or another. We've all learned, um, to get. We've said the term "get your big girl pants on." My niece laughs at me when I tell her that, because sometimes the world can be cruel. It can be really hard. Leadership is not easy. Leadership is taking successes, taking challenges, situations when you feel that you're not being heard. Um, Still continuing to push through because a lot of people rely on you. 25 years in the profession, from a family childcare to a group childcare center, training and working with diverse communities, really, it made me look and think, these people need me. I continue to look every time a challenge comes my way, get back home, you think and you reflect and you say, what went well? What could I do better? At times, just many times having great supporters that are there for you, that keep cheering you on and telling you to keep up the good work and be hopeful. And I think, my Lord, of course, all of us have faith, regardless of what faith we have and who we are, where we come from. Just maintaining that, the faith, maintaining a good, strong relationship with the people that believe in you. We have an army of hopeful people in our profession. We all might be different, but we're all aiming for the same thing. The children, the family, the communities. You don't have to be a part of that community to advocate and speak for what's right. Just being there for each other during tough times. We've all endured a lot during COVID, and we were all resilient to get through it. For many of us, we've lost some dear people that were dear and near to us. I'll never forget some of the people that was there for me. Um, and God rest all of their souls, and we made it through. We're now going through another phase, and we just got to stick together. When I see it, having a center in Southwest Detroit, serving many Latino children and families, I am grateful to know that I give them hope to walking into my building and know that they have a sense of belonging, they're respected, they're valued, and there is an advocate advocating for them. So for me, really having hope is being uh, intentional. You know, you have to be intentional with the work that you do. Whether you may be facing challenges, I mean, we all know the work is not getting easy in our profession. We're losing some people that's been in the field for a while. People are getting tired. Just recognizing and understanding how we can be supportive to one another, whether it's your staff, whether it's your funders, collaborating organizations that's within the community or nationally, and just really being kind and treating people the way you want to be treated. For me, I have been very blessed to have had many experiences and really now leading with intentionality with the family child care providers. A leader is a leader that leads with no fear to lead others and be able to hand the torch down, over to leaders that are upcoming and regardless of age, color, nationality, religious belief. I think we're all really knowledgeable to understand, the NACY's Code of Ethical Conduct. I keep saying I know that by heart. We have professional responsibilities for our children, our families, our coworkers, our workplace, and community and society as a whole. We have the ideals and the principles, and at times when I see things that these are not practiced or they're not in place, it does make me sad. But I continue to say, you know what, you know better, and you do what's right. So I'm going to just share an example, and I see Elizabeth Gonzalez on here from Congress of Community. Hello, Elizabeth. Sorry. For me, when I was approached to open up a child care center in Southwest Detroit 4 years ago through Urban Neighborhood Initiatives, she said, Najwa, we need a partner, not a tenant, and we believe in you. And that is because I saw culturally and linguistically responsive people in that community. The Latino community coming to America in 1977 as an Arab American, where predominantly Southwest Detroit was Latino and Arabic, but we didn't have that resource that we have now. This is what's so great about America. We are diverse. We are strong together. We stick together. I'll never forget my bilingual teacher who was Spanish, Mrs. Guerrero. I still remember her. She was there for us with smile. It was just made the world. It made a big difference. The smile is universal. Being intentional when we're hugging a child or just being intentional to just welcome a mom or a parent to come in and volunteer and be a part of your program. So that's what really helps me have hope and keeps me going. When I see the families, the children that I've served over the years, being in the field for over 25 years, seeing some of the little ones that I had and are now graduating from college or are leaders themselves, that gives me hope, knowing that I was a part of their life. I treated them with dignity and respect. I advocated for them when they couldn't. And that's what we need to continue to push through during this difficult time right now, and really get together and continue to share resources. Just picking up the phone, we're all on social media. Sometimes just saying, hey, are you okay? Can we help in any way? It may not be monetary. It may be just a simple hello or just having a cup of coffee or just crying together. Let's just continue to be hopeful and being, intentional about the work that we do. And for me, I am always grateful to my Lord for giving me the strength. Of course, my family, my husband, my children, and my team at the learning center. And I also want to thank our family child care providers that have really exceeded my expectations of their strength and wisdom that they are getting ready to lead. And I am proud and honored to lead them the way. And I now turn it over to Holly. Holly.
Noswa, thank you so much. I invite everybody to remember the words of Noswa when she said she was greeted, she was welcomed. And what are the words they used? And I want to ask you guys, who has welcomed you in such a way? Who has welcomed you in this way? What she said was, she was told when she started, we need a partner, not a tenant. And we believe in you. What a beautiful question. And mahalo to my dear friend, A. Thank you both for sharing your hearts and your experience, your strength and hope. Let me address the underlying issue of resilience for me. And honestly, my friends, that's not giving up. And the question I just asked you, who is it that believes in you and will still be there for you today? And even if that person is not still on earth, can you sit quietly for a moment and be with the spirit of that person and ask, who is it that sees me and believes I can make a difference? And I want to thank all those people on earth and beyond the earth who have said to early childhood professionals, I see you. I believe in you. You are not a glorified babysitter. You are making a difference in children's lives every day. You are not just getting paid for playing with children. You are a person who is making our world a better place. So let me say that a huge part of resilience for me is number one, hope. You got it. And number two, it's living and being in a community where we are free to say to each other, or where we choose, even if we're not free, to say to each other, you're making a difference. I believe in you. We want you as a partner. Now, here's a challenge, my friends, and I know you all know this. By the way, when I started out in early childhood, 1995, my goodness, I wrote about things like the law, wrote a book on managing legal risks. Then I started writing about leadership and emotional intelligence, what you need to lead, all of those things. And what have I morphed into at age 79? I'm writing about healing from trauma. Why would that be the theme? My friends, I ask you, why on earth would somebody who's written about the law, written about leadership, why would I be talking about trauma? Why would I be talking about trauma? And by the way, thank you to people that are naming that person that has seen you. Let us honor those people. And let us now go to what we are honoring when we honor those people. Here is the deal. We all have had and chosen to learn about brain science. Well, guess what? Our brains, when put under pressure, shut down. Have you ever felt like you didn't know what you're talking about? And like, not only could you not remember where you parked your car, but what car keys? What are they? When my brain shuts down, it literally, the executive function that's able to make choices, that's able to keep my sense of humor, that's able to say, this is what you were talking about, honey. It's able to say, this is where we're going. The executive function that allows me to be generous, that allows me to have perspective. When trauma comes, and we are in trauma, yes, we are in trauma, that shuts down my brain, the executive function, by 90 to 95%. Now, if you have ever felt this, if you ever felt like I can't do anything else, resilience, what are you talking about? I can't do anything else. I am done. You're not alone. Has anybody besides me felt like I just don't have anything else to give? I don't have the energy. My bed looks really good right now. Yeah, I want to say that this is a struggle. And I'm going to say this, I am one out of every third female in this country of America that has been abused. I don't want you to be stark. I'll just say that I'm a survivor of physical abuse, beatings till I blacked out. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. I'm a survivor of every kind of abuse there was. And sadly, my mother couldn't protect me from my narcissistic father because my mother was mentally ill. So here's the additional problem that a number of us have when it comes to resilience. Not only does our brain shut down under trauma, but we have a pattern of our brain staying shut down. What I learned as a child was nobody's going to be there for you, Holly, Elissa. You got to do it all yourself. Did anybody else get that message? I've noticed a number of leaders in early childhood feel like, I got to do it myself. I got to do it myself. Well, the message of trauma and the message of resilience is, wait a minute. I thrive, survive, and live when I ask for help. Resilience for me is being able to, one, acknowledge how I'm feeling, because as a survivor of trauma, I was taught, don't feel, don't you have any feelings, don't trust anybody, and don't talk about what's going on. I have totally reversed that as an early childhood professional. I tell people when I'm sad. I tell it appropriately, I hope, but I say, I'm sad right now. Or I say, I really need a hug right now. Or I need to take a break right now. Could you cover for me? The thing is, my friends, resilience comes from having hope. It also comes from community. And the community around us, you've got it. It might be one person, it might be your dog. That's okay. Community around us is there to say, as they said to our friend Nazwa, they said, we believe in you. So we also are the people that are doing that for others. Those of us who are responsible for a number of people, it is so healing to say, milagros, thank you. You just did something I could not have imagined. And you changed, in that moment, you changed that child's whole demeanor, whole aspect because of what you saw that I couldn't see. So thank you for that. So two things, my friends. Resilience is about choosing hope. It's about saying, I can't do it all myself. Thank you, Alex. And I have the right to ask for help. And guess what? Whenever I ask for help, even if I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm ashamed, I should be all things to all people, guess what? Nuh-uh. When I ask for help, someone responds. And if I'm by myself, I can ask the divine, look, help me out. I'm sick. You got to spell it out for me. Just a sign isn't going to do it. I need to hear exactly. So what I want to say now, my friends, is in addition to hope, in addition to community giving, and also allowing the community to give to us, are you doing anything recently, my friends? When have you let someone take care of you? When have you let someone take care of you? And Brenda, thank you for sharing your loss. We all feel that and care for you as you go through that, because we're going to be going through that too. And so a couple of other things, my friends, I want to say that here is a quote about giving back, maintaining resilience, even in the worst of times. And here it is. It's from a woman named Emily Marushan. Don't know her, but we appreciate what she said. Emily said, if you want to know where to find your contribution in the world, you want to know, what can you be in the world that's saying, you're a glorified babysitter, or we're not going to pay you, or we're going to knock out your Head Start program, or we're not going to feed the babies. All of these things. If you want to know where to find your contribution to the world, look where? At your wounds. At your wounds. When you learn how to heal them, heal others. Now, my friend, and I want to thank my friend Crystal, who's on here too, from Detroit area. We know through unpublished research that 58, the majority of early childhood professionals are trauma survivors. 58% of us. What does that have to do with hope and resilience? And what does that have to do with what I said about the brain shutting down? Here's my last point. It's choice. It's choosing. It is choosing hope that I, even if it's in the most tiny of ways, can make a difference, and choosing to believe that that tiny way will matter. I learned as a trauma survivor that I have choices I didn't think I have. I had a sister, God bless her, also a trauma survivor, who had a terminal illness, took away all of her strength, she couldn't talk, she couldn't eat. And yet, just before that happened, I was with her just sitting with her, singing hymns with her if she could. And I said to her, sweetie, what gives you hope? What gives you a sense that something is meaningful when you're going through all this hard time? And when she could speak, she said, it's haltingly, but she said to me, no matter what, sister, I can pray. And so I need to end with this. What I want to say in conclusion is Viktor Frankl, put in a concentration camp, had no hope, was hoping, he kept praying, will my wife be alive in another concentration camp? It turned out she wasn't. But what kept him resilient? He said, my friends, the last of our human freedoms is to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances. And so as I welcome Valora back, I want to say thank you for choosing to make a difference when things are piling up and going in the other direction. And the last thing I want to say, and I'm going to say this to my friend Valora, one thing that saves Valora and me is keeping our sense of humor. Without that, we're done. And if anybody else feels that, just type in, honey. We know if we lose our sense of humor that the hope goes away. So let us find the hope, the choice making. Remember the people that loved us, give back the love, and keep our sense of humor no matter what. Hey, Valora.
Absolutely. I hope Alexandria and Najwa can join us to have a conversation about what really gives us hope. I love some of the things I've heard, that we are an army of hopeful people. Najwa, I love it when you said that. And that we really have to see each other and help others to see us, that we build a community together and that we share with others the strength that we have. But also, Alexandra, we have to know that self-care matters first. You've got to take care of yourself. And sometimes that means you have to step back. And so there are many lessons that I'm hearing from you all today about how we're choosing hope, how we are choosing hope. Holly, I want to ask you about what Alexandria said about stepping back, because you, every week, it seems like you're in a different country, sharing your wisdom and knowledge. How are you doing that? And bringing so much hope to so many other people around our country, as well as in other countries.
Thank you so much. Thank you for saying that. And I want to say this, look, I'm 79. Which means I'm closer to 80 than I ever was before. And I have many colleagues across the country that said, hey, I'm 65, it's time for me to retire. I applaud them. They're doing what's right for them. But in terms of resilience, here's my decision. Take what you like and leave the rest. I have decided that as long as I have something to give back, I will give that back. And what I've discovered is over the years, like I said, I moved from talking about the law to talking about leadership, to talking about emotional intelligence, blah, 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 blah. And now I talk about trauma. What I've discovered is the more I become my true self and share from that, other people hear me because they're hearing something about themselves. So, Valora, to answer your question, two things. One, I'm making a choice for hope. And as long as I'm still walking around, and not only walking around, I'm going to another country whenever because I learn when I go to another country. I learn when I go to another state. I learn when I go to another culture. So I choose to be a lifelong learner. And isn't that the gift that we offer to every baby that comes in front of us? We want every baby to say, I don't have to stop learning because I get in elementary school and somebody says, you don't know how to do that. Baby's going to say, with attitude, I'm going to learn how to do that. So I forgot already what the second thing I was going to say to Valora was, but I think it's about choice. I think it's about choice. As long as we can inspire each other and lift each other up, let's do that. You lift me up, Valora. Look at the work you're doing. And I know you're 39, but I'm very impressed.
Thank you. One of the words that I didn't hear that I want to introduce in this conversation about how we choose hope is joy. Because, right now, every morning I wake up and I wonder what happened overnight. That's the situation we're living through right now. Every day there's something new, another shoe is dropping. How do you find joy? Joy is another way that we choose hope. How do you find joy in the midst of these challenges? Najwa, you work in a lot of immigrant communities in the greater Detroit area. And we know right now that people who are immigrants, as well as people who are not immigrants, are really faced with a lot of challenges around how we are welcoming or dealing with newcomers to our country. And so, how do you pour into them and also help them find joy?
Thank you, Dr. Washington. Absolutely. Michigan, Detroit is such a diverse state. You know, we have pockets of communities, and I'm an advocate for all. So wherever I go and I, see whatever the need is, I'm excited about the food, the music, the cultures. I mean, we are, America is rich of the cultures, and knowing that there's sometimes just playing the music, dancing to it. The other day, I was at, the center and we were closed. The cleaning lady came in and she doesn't speak English, she's Spanish. And I speak a little bit of broken to her. So I put on an Arabic music and I started dancing to her. And she loved it and we joined in. It was just beautiful. Just really, being positive, thinking on the bright side, really being there, dancing with the kids and just appreciating what we have in each other and our differences.
And that's really wonderful. I so much love, Alexandria, how you brought in the idea of community and trusting others to support you, but also that other people can do the work and they may not do it your way, but that other people are committed to doing the work. Is that hard for us to do, to really step back? I mean, I've noticed that a lot of people in our field are, may I say, women who do a lot, maybe women who do too much. So tell me about that journey of trusting and leaning into your community.
Like you said, it was hard at first. We tend to have our ways of doing things, and but I think the most important part was for me to understand that I was stretched. I was beyond stretched, and I pride myself on providing quality. So I had to ask myself, can you still give 100%? And the answer was no. And I'm not one to say, well, I'll just do half, and let somebody else pick up the other half. It's all or nothing. But at the same time, I was able to say, okay, this is what I can do, and this is what I need help in. And I think that's what I struggled with. It's the fact that I was saying I needed help. I'm usually the one giving the help. I'm the one that is nurturing. I'm the one providing the guidance and lifting others up. So for me to have to need that myself, it was difficult and it was different. I didn't take to that feeling very well. So I had to kind of practice, being a good role model. And it wasn't that there weren't people who wasn't willing to help, because they were always there. What can I do, Miss Al? Tell me what I can do. But I had this thing in my head where I always say, they're dealing with a lot already, and then I had to say, but so are you. So let's see what can be done. And I had to keep telling myself that, yes, they're dealing with a lot, but so are you. And learning to let go, and then flip it to say, you are also providing them this room for growth, this opportunity for leadership, because we know that we have to continue to breed leadership. If not, we're going to be stuck with, people feeling, overburdened, burning out. So we really have to start now and just trusting in those that we work with to say, okay, I see their potential, but also to really get them to see their own potential. And I think that's what really helped me to get through that part.
Yeah, that's so powerful because, we're in the business of showing compassion to others, but you've got to show compassion toward yourself, right? You have to be compassionate towards yourself. Can I introduce another word that might be helpful in helping us to think about how we choose hope? And that is gratitude. Holly, how does gratitude play into our capacity to heal, to our capacity to choose hope?
Thank you for that question. Gratitude is breathing. I don't exist without breathing, and I don't exist without gratitude. Here's the deal. As a survivor of trauma, my natural stance when faced with confrontation, when faced with inequity, unfairness, is to feel like I'm a victim. I'm a victim. And when I feel like a victim, and as anybody else, I mean, I'm just admitting this. I'm not supposed to admit it, but I'm admitting it. When things get really bad, either on a global or national or personal level, because I learned that I was powerless as a child over abusive adults, my response can be hopelessness, no resilience, and loneliness as a victim. So to respond to Valora's question, what does that have to do with gratitude? I have come to see, and I am never alone. And that there's always someone I can think of who has faced awful stuff and has found a way out. How did Joan of Arc keep doing what she was doing? How did Gandhi keep doing? How did Martin Luther King? How did all of these people, Maya Angelou, keep doing what they were doing? And what were they doing? Just like what you were doing, my friends. We all have something to give back to this earth. I'm not clear on what it is all the time. I just know I show up. I show up and I give it back. And every time I do that, the Lord, gratitude is in force, because I'm grateful to everybody that didn't think she could do it, was threatened, don't you do this, was even assassinated for doing it. And yet, till their dying breath, they kept going. And the gratitude to people on earth right now who want to make a difference, including everybody that's at this webinar right now, thank you for choosing to make a difference. That makes a difference to my heart too.
Yeah. Remembering that we're in front of children all the day, every day. We're interacting with parents every day, that we are that source of hope for them, and we need to see them and let them know they are seen, just as we are seen. So much to think about as we go through these ideas. I love this idea that one of you said earlier, realizing that we're all connected. This is something that I think all of us at the CAYL Institute experience all the time, particularly in this webinar series. We've just been so amazed and gratified how people from all the states and all of these countries come to listen. And we want to be a place where you feel heard, that your real questions and the things that are really on your heart can actually be talked about and not swept under the rug. So we want you to know that we hear you, we see you, and we love to hear even more from you, even more from you. How's the weather out there in terms of the spirit that you're seeing in our early childhood education community right now? What are you perceiving? What do you think that we need? What advice would you give for us right now?
I feel a lot of courage coming out, and courage is like a sunshine that comes out in the darkest of midwinter. Why am I saying that? Because I see colleagues all over the country who are being told, oh, we're not giving you food anymore. The children's not getting lunch anymore. You don't have, and it's the same thing. This is why I see courage as the sunshine that's coming out. This is the weather. Sunshine is always with us in early childhood, because look what happened during COVID. I just invite each one of you, from Nazwa to everybody that's listening. What's one thing that just heartened you, warmed your heart so much in the freezing weather of COVID? What's just one thing? And I'll tell you, I'm just thinking of my but my city right here in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. I knew people from Head Start and other programs that took their van and they went around to every child's home and they stood across the street. Babies were on the other side of the street with the parents or the caregiver, and they're singing. They're singing across the street. They're dropping off diapers in parking lots. They're doing things that I hope we're safe to do, but they were at the edge. Because what is the weather in early childhood? The weather is always hope, resilience, giving back, and the courage to believe that what I have to offer, tiny as it is something. I don't think I finished my story, but I want to say really briefly, my sister, who was saying, She had nothing, she couldn't give anything anymore. And she said, I can pray. Just want to say, I believe she was making a difference as she was praying. She was making a difference. So I could be 95, 90. Look at Jimmy Carter. The weather is stormy. It's dark here in Massachusetts. It's stormy, but courage is the sunrise that we could always call upon.
Mhm. Any final thoughts, Nashua or Alexandria?
If yes, I want to just say, as an immigrant, Arab American immigrants come here for hope, come here for a new future, building they let go of a lot of their childhood years, their home, to build a new home here. Just please be kind to your neighbors, be kind to your colleagues, your communities. Be a listening ear and just be there and without judgment. When for me here being in America for 47 years, I treat everyone the way I want to be treated. Just, have an open heart, open arm, be there and just ask, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? And really just, we're all people of faith. I know in the Bible, for me, it says, love thy neighbor. In any book of faith, it tells us to treat each other right, with dignity and respect. And that's all I know that we're all capable, especially in our early childhood community. It's so nice to see some familiar names in here locally and nationally. Just being there for each other. We did an amazing job getting through together in COVID. And now we have to be more intentional. Blessings to all.
Mhm. Alexandra, I'll give you the last word.
Hi. Um, so yeah, I think that right now it's really important for us to continue to be hopeful. I know everything's really scary right now. One thing I do like to share with people is continue to be present. With all these fears and worries, it tends to take everybody's mind off of the present. And our children and families need us to be present. Head Start is celebrating 60 years this year. And so I'd like to have faith that 60 years and more to come. So yes, we're all scared, but we're going to continue to be present and be there for our children and families and do whatever it takes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for these words. I am truly inspired by listening to you, and I myself am very hopeful. And I think that sometimes in opportunities like we have now, we can think of the times that we're in as an opportunity to think again about who we are, to think again about what we believe, to think again about the impact we have on children and families, and to innovate in ways that we might not have done, except that we face certain challenges. So I'm certainly grateful for all of you and for the wisdom that you're offering. And I want to encourage all of you who are live on here to join us at the after party. If you'd like to be in a conversation with our three panelists today, there's a link in the chat that you can click, and we will go over to a live conversation with them. Thank you all. So please join the after party by clicking the link that is in the chat. If you'd like to interact with our three panelists today. We said that in 2025, we're going to talk about the way forward, that we were starting on this foundation of thinking about the resilience we need to take the path forward. So as we move forward next month, we're going to start talking about the way forward by talking about children. And then in the second quarter of the year, we're going to talk about families, we're going to talk about programs. And in the third quarter, we're going to talk about policy. So what is the way forward for our children, for our practitioners, and for policy? So join us next month as we talk about how we can empower tech-savvy kids to thrive using developmentally appropriate strategies. And so we're really hoping that you will join us as we think about the way forward in working with children in this way. And finally, as you're getting ready to join us in the after party, I want to thank all of our team at the CAYL Institute who have been on this journey together for the past Since 2020, we've been doing this webinar series, and we too are very hopeful, as in a large part of our work, what we're doing is recruiting and training and building people to come into the field or otherwise to upskill themselves in our field. This is very hopeful work as we bring in this whole next generation of early childhood leaders as part of the Good Jobs Challenge of America. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. See you at the after party and look forward to having a year of talking about the way forward. Good night.